Welcome to Super Showdowns, the ultimate destination for epic battles and legendary showdowns. Join us as we put iconic superheroes, villains, and mythological figures against each other in a thrilling matches of strength, strategy, and skill. The sky over Metropolis was ablaze, charged with unnatural energy that made even the air itself feel unstable. Golden lightning crackled through the heavens, illuminating the city's skyline in bursts of brilliance that rivaled the midday sun. People stopped in the streets, looking upward, their breaths stolen by the overwhelming sense of power hanging in the atmosphere. Something was coming, something beyond their understanding. From deep in the cosmos, past the barriers of time and space, he had arrived. A lone figure hovered above the world, bathed in golden light, his cape drifting lazily behind him as though the very universe bent to his presence. His form was flawless, sculpted like an Olympian god, his blue eyes burning with a radiance that rivaled the stars. He was a man. He was a force. He was a paradox. A being who should not exist, yet did. He was a sentry. The voices whispered again. They always did. Some screamed warnings. Others spoke of destruction. And then there was the most familiar voice of all, the dark whisper in the depths of his mind. He's the only one who can erase you. You must act first. You must end him. His eyes focused, piercing to the clouds, cutting through the distance like a cosmic blade. And there, standing atop a skyscraper, watching with eyes that knew both battle and mercy, was the one who had unknowingly challenged his very existence. Superman. Clark Kent had sensed something was wrong before he ever looked up. The change in atmosphere, the way the light shifted unnaturally, the sudden hush of the wind. It was a kind of silence that preceded disaster. He stood on the rooftop of the Daily Planet, his sharp blue eyes locked on the golden figure floating far above. He didn't need super hearing to know the city was already in a panic. Low as it called him minutes ago, her voice tight with concern. Clark. Sky. There's something in the sky. People are freaking out. It's not like anything I've ever seen. She wasn't exaggerating. This was no ordinary threat. This wasn't some alien warlord looking for conquest, or a rogue experiment gone wrong. The energy radiating from this being felt unstable, wrong. Even from this distance, Superman could sense something fraying at the edges of reality itself. His instinct screamed danger. With a deep breath, he unbuttoned his shirt, revealing the crimson and gold emblem of the House of L. In the next instant, he was airborne, a blur of blue and red streaking toward the heavens. As he ascended, the energy around the Sentry became more intense, like the build-up before a star goes supernova. Superman slowed as he approached, maintaining a cautious distance. He could see it now. This man was powerful, unimaginably so. But there was something else. Something broken. I don't know who you are, Superman said, his deep voice calm but firm. But you're radiating enough energy to tear a hole in the atmosphere. If you're here for a fight, I suggest we take this somewhere else. For a moment, the Sentry said nothing. He simply hovered there, studying Superman, as if looking for an answer to a question even he didn't fully understand. Then finally he spoke. You're not what I expected, he said, his voice disturbingly quiet. You don't feel like a god, but the world treats you as one. Superman's eyes narrowed. He had faced beings of immense power before, beings who viewed him as either an equal or an obstacle. But this man was different. There was hesitation in his voice, a conflict deeper than simple arrogance or rage. Superman softened his tone. I'm just a man trying to do the right thing. And right now, the right thing is keeping you from hurting anyone.
Hey you, don't just watch. Subscribe, please.
So, why don't you tell me why you're here? Sentry's expression twitched, as though the question itself had triggered something inside him. His hands clenched into fists. He blinked rapidly, like someone fighting to keep their grip on reality. You don't understand, he muttered. You and I were inevitable. Then, in the blink of an eye, he was gone. Superman barely had time to react before an unseen force struck him with the power of a collapsing sun. The impact sent him hurtling backward, tearing through the sky like a meteor breaking through the atmosphere. The world below blurred as Superman flipped midair, stabilizing himself before colliding with the city. The force of the blow had been immense, but he had taken worse. He wiped a trickle of blood from his lip, his eyes scanning for his opponent. He didn't have to wait long. Sentry reappeared inches from his face, moving faster than light itself. Before Superman could block, the second punch landed, this time square in his gut. The shockwave shattered windows for miles. Superman gasped, not just from the force of the hit, but from something deeper. There was an energy to Sentry's blows, something unnatural, something that felt like reality itself was breaking around his fists. Not bad, Sentry admitted, watching as Superman steadied himself in midair. Most things don't survive 2 hits for me. Superman exhaled sharply, his eyes glowing red. You're going to regret giving me the chance. Twin beams of searing heat lanced out, cutting through the sky like molten blades. Sentry raised a single hand, and space itself bent. Superman's heat vision curved away from his target, as if reality had rewritten its own rules in that single moment. The beams tore through the sky and struck an empty patch of clouds, evaporating them in an instant. Superman's eyes widened. Molecular manipulation, Sentry whispered, his lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. Heat vision won't save you. Superman didn't hesitate. He rushed forward with a burst of speed that cracked the sound barrier 10 times over. His fist connected with Sentry's jaw, launching the Golden Warrior backward through the sky. He pressed the attack, raining down a storm of blows faster than the human I could perceive. But Sentry didn't fall. With a roar, he grabbed Superman by the throat and spun, hurling him toward the moon with enough force to shake the Earth's core. The battle had begun, and only one of them would be left standing. Superman hurtled through space like a comet, the sheer force of Sentry's throws sending him rocketing toward the moon at speeds that defied physics. The void of space was silent, but his mind roared with calculations. He had only seconds before impact. With a sharp twist of his body, he unleashed a controlled burst of heat vision behind him, using the recoil to slow himself down. At the last moment, he flipped midair, his boots slamming into the moon's surface, cratering it beneath him but stopping his trajectory. He barely had time to breathe before a golden streak of light closed the distance. Sentry slammed down like a wrathful god, his fist glowed with the power of a million exploding suns. Superman twisted, dodging at the last second, feeling the heat of the attack as it struck the lunar surface. The impact sent a shockwave across the moon, splitting its surface and sending debris flying into space. Impressive, Sentry said, his voice unervingly calm. But delaying the inevitable won't save you. Superman's eyes glowed red. I've heard that before. Before Sentry could respond, Superman rocketed forward, ramming into him with a force that bent the very fabric of space. The two tore through the void, locked in combat, each strike creating ripples in reality itself. Sentry countered with a devastating punch to Superman's ribs, sending him spiraling. But before he could press the attack, Superman recovered, twisting mid-space and delivering a thunderous uppercut that sent Sentry crashing into an asteroid belt. Superman wasn't about to let him recover. He sped forward, grabbing Sentry by the cape and hurling him deeper into space, straight toward the burning fury of the sun. Sentry roared, golden energy crackling around him as he stopped himself mid-flight. His power flared wildly, his body burning with raw, unstable energy. You think the sun scares me? I hold its power in my veins. Superman narrowed his eyes. Good, then you'll survive this. In an instant, Superman was upon him again, hammering Sentry with a flurry of punches that shook the solar winds themselves. But Sentry fought back with equal ferocity, his blows rattling Superman's very bones. The battle had become a test of endurance, of will, and Superman would not break. As Sentry lashed out with a final, devastating strike, Superman caught his fist. The shockwave from the impact sent firestorms raging across the sun's surface. Sentry's eyes widened. Impossible. Superman gritted his teeth. You're strong, but you're unstable, and instability can be broken. With a burst of speed, he spun around Sentry and locked him in an unbreakable grip. His arms wrapped around the Golden Warrior in a crushing hold, his muscles straining as he pushed forward, dragging Sentry straight toward the sun. Sentry struggled, his energy flaring wildly, but Superman's grip was relentless. Let go. Sentry roared. I'll burn you alive. Superman's eyes were like steel. Then we'll burn together. The sun's gravity pulled him in, the heat intensifying. Sentry's power flared uncontrollably, his molecular manipulation struggling against the sheer force of the solar inferno. He screamed as his body convulsed, the instability within him reaching its breaking point. Superman, fueled by the same solar energy that now threatened to consume them both, gritted his teeth and held on. Then, a massive explosion erupted in Sentry's body. A shockwave rippled through space as golden energy scattered into the void. Superman was blasted backward, but he recovered, stabilizing himself in the solar winds. He searched frantically, scanning for Sentry, and then he saw him. Sentry floated motionless, his body flickering between existence and nothingness. His form was destabilizing, his very being unraveling. Superman reached out, trying to grab him, but Sentry shook his head. "It's over," Sentry whispered, his voice weak. "I was never meant to last. Not in this reality." A final golden flash, and he was gone. Superman stared at the empty space where Sentry had been. The battle was over. He turned toward Earth, his eyes filled with both victory and sorrow. He had won, but at what cost? With a heavy heart. Superman flew home, the weight of the battle settling on his shoulders.